Recently, I was a guest on the Practice Marketing podcast with my good friend Neil Trickett. He's the CEO of Practice Promotions, and our conversation was so good, I had to bring it to you guys. Neil and I go back over 20 years in the industry, and in our discussion, we're going to talk about the biggest hiring mistakes we've made, what current mistakes are being made, what your network and your net worth have to do with each other. And we're talking about all these things so that we can help you feel that love and passion that you had the second you became a PT for the first time. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk with Will Humphreys, who is not only a former physical therapist, but he's turned serial entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Virtual Rockstar. And Virtual Rockstar is the fastest growing virtual staffing partner for private healthcare practices in the U.S. And he and his team have placed full-time, highly trained Filipino virtual assistants into roles like front desk, insurance verification, billing, marketing, recruiting, and helping clinics save an average of about 20 grand in profit per hire while improving that patient experience. So today, Will is going to share with you why you need a virtual rockstar. And if you've had questions around virtual assistants and thinking about how can I improve the administrative experience within my clinic, you come to the right podcast. So Will, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Neil, for having me. I'm so excited to dive into this topic today because we together are working to free up business owners, and this is a topic that is going to be so awesome. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Excited to. And Will and I go way back. We did business training together, I don't know, like 20 years ago or something. So we've known each other for quite a long time. Will is an amazing individual, a super smart person, and a great entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about your story being in the PT world and how you've kind of evolved to where you are now.
Yes. So my journey started with a mountain climbing accident, broke both arms and legs, trying to impress a girl on a Friday the 13th when I was 17 years old. My physical therapist got me standing and walking. Immediately, I was bought in for the rest of my career. So I went to PT school. Within a year, opened up a practice for another company that didn't know any better. There was a private practice owner who later became my partner, Nathan Shields. And so he's like, hey, you got a license, go open up a location in Florence, Arizona. And so I go out there, and this is true, Neil, the night before I started my first day, I had this nightmare. And I don't think it was a nightmare. I think it was revelation. I really do. I was laying there. I was in the clinic that I had seen from the interview. It was a small 1,200 square foot space. And there were hundreds of people circling around me, like asking me questions at the same time about their body. And like they were out the door waiting around the corner. And I was like trying to talk to people, but I couldn't think from all the noise and all the intensity. And I was like, I don't know, your shoulder. Well, and I'm a new grad, like, basically. And I'm like, so I wake up in a cold sweat. And I remember thinking, I think that was more than a dream. And sure enough, I will tell you, that was exactly how I felt for the next number of years as I opened that location and later bought it from Nathan. So I became owner of that location in Florence. And as an owner, that was the drowning sensation I had over and over again of like constantly getting questions, needs, and just never feeling like I was catching up. And so that was a very hard journey for me, but with lots of coaching, and that's where you and I met. Lots of great coaching. And I'll tell everyone who's listening right now, number one takeaway, regardless of VAs, your network is your net worth. I'm a better human because I know Neil. And we got it. We knew each other because we were growing and coaching together. And then I went from that journey to 5 locations, sold my 5-location practice in 2018 because by the end of that journey, I had learned how to be free. I had a great team. They were running the company like it was theirs. Sometimes I wondered if they cared about it more than I did. And so when I sold, I was like, hey, listen, first of all, I am not quick to learn things. It took me 15 years to do this, but I wanted to help the industry in some way. So after 2018, after working in different businesses, I still own some companies I started at the time, I found Virtual Rockstar. And the reason I'm so excited about this company is because after everything I've done, I own a medical billing company, I used to coach. When I started putting virtual assistants in people's practices, my clients told me hands down that was the best thing that I've ever done for them. And
Cool.
we have scaled, meaning we hit 100% growth year over year for the last 3 years, Neil. So we are growing incredibly fast, which is why we're the fastest growing. It's because we're finding people in that way. So at the end of the day, our passion, you and I, we're all about helping people increase their income, impact, and freedom. And for me, like anything I can do to help the greatest leaders in our healthcare industry be free to be with their families and grow their practices is where it's at. So I'm just grateful for that experience for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love the impact that you're making in the industry and helping so many practice owners with that. It's been fantastic to see. It's questions that I've chatted with practice owners on. I mean, you and I have both had physical therapy practices. We know the headaches that come along with the administration side, so the front desk, the scheduling, the authorizations, the billing, the marketing, the management of people, right, payroll, all those kind of things, right? There's a ton of things that make the clinic, the business side of it, work, right, and run along smoothly. So what would you say is the biggest operational mistake that you see PT owners making when they're just trying to do it all themselves?
Yeah, well, the mistake is doing it all themselves, but I would say the biggest thing that they think is that that by doing it, that like it's going to get done better. So the reason I think most PTs have a hard time letting go is because they don't really know how to hire well. This is hands down the biggest problem in my opinion in the whole industry of physical therapy is that we don't get trained on how to hire effectively. So when I first hired people, it was the fogged mirror rule. You've heard of that, right? It's if the person fogs a mirror because they have a breath, I would hire them because I was so desperate. And I always felt like I was over promising, or at least like if I didn't over promise, I always felt like my first PT I ever hired, he would see 20 to 30 visits a week and I was seeing 80. Like this wasn't ethical back then, but like this was me just trying to keep my head above water. So learning how to hire is a huge piece of it because again, what people don't realize that's the problem. What they think is the people suck. So when owners are like, well, it's not me because I don't know how to hire, they go, well, you just can't find good help. When I hear people talk about like, oh, you can't find good help anymore. Here's a common one too, Neil. You'll love this. A lot of people listening will think this is true when I first say it, but it's not. Is that at my conference 3 weeks ago, we had over 60 companies in attendance. And I was just asking the audience, like, what's the problem with recruiting? Why is it hard? And people said, this new generation doesn't know how to work. They're all they want to do is collect money for not putting effort in. Yeah. And they kept talking about it. And one of the guys, Greg Todd, who's a great coach in our industry, and he's had private practices for years, he's like, don't all you guys want to make more money for doing less work? So shut up. You're all hypocrites. He said it to the entire group. And so when we find ourselves blaming the hires, or we find ourselves doing all the work because you just can't find good help, that's not the truth. Mm-hmm. You're doing all the work because you don't trust people because you actually don't know how to find people you can trust. Full stop.
Absolutely. Your business is your people, right? I mean, I've learned that lesson so many times over and over again in both my PT practice and also in practice promotions. It's the people that you hire. We have some amazing people here that have been with us for 15 years. And so that just kind of is a testament to who they are. Like, again, that hiring process, right? Because we're very, very finicky about who we let into the organization, and there's different processes that people will go through. And I think that took some time to develop in the practice for us, for sure. Like, we didn't know what to do at the beginning, and then we learned through some business coaching, like, okay, there's a process to hiring, and like, you want to find the right people, and it's not, like you said, someone who is breathing and has a pulse and can just shuffle some papers, right? That's not what we need. So from that angle, what are some of the mistakes that you then see, like in the clinic? Is it typically more like struggles around the front desk or someone who's handling billing? Like what are some of the common things that you see there?
You just nailed the two biggest problems that I see. It's the front desk and it's the back office in terms of because listen, PTs, that comes and goes. Obviously, I think there's a certain level of quality that gets baked into most PTs because of the formal education that it's required. Again, if people are like, well, this new generation doesn't know how to work hard and see things, it's because we haven't trained them appropriately. Right after hiring comes the training. And so if we don't know how to train good people, that's where we fall into it. But the biggest mistakes I see, to answer your question, is the front desk. Let's start with the front desk. People think that the front desk position is a reception position, and it's not.
No.
It's a sales position.
100%.
It's your greatest point of, and you know this, you're not because of our background. Like, when I realize that that position is worth more money, it's worth to pay someone more money because they are actually affecting my income more than anyone else other than the therapists. And I would even argue, you might even view it as maybe more than the therapists.
If you've ever had the most important position in the practice, so I did value that front desk higher than a therapist, But because you got to get someone in the door, right? You can't treat someone if they don't come for care.
With AI coming out, Neil, there are studies that people are producing because a lot of phone systems, a lot of VoIPs are recording statistically what's actually occurring at the front desk, and it's hysterical because people don't realize how many tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars every year they lose because there's only one person holding the position. Even if you have a Rockstar, if you're lucky to have a Rockstar employee and they're in charge of all the insurance verifications and authorizations and answering all the phones and being that smiley face when you walk in, and you're trying to get them to do it for $20 to $25 an hour. It's like, yeah, man, you're gonna struggle, and you don't even know how much money you're bleeding. Like, not like trickles of blood. We're talking gushing money, because you never see it. You never hear of the person who was on hold for 2 minutes who hung up and called somewhere else. You never know. So the VoIP systems and the AI are starting to capture the actual data, and it's scary. So yeah, that's the first position by far. That front desk role.
We actually have that with our clients. We have AI analysis on calls, and so it's something we've been testing out. We're going to deploy it much more this year. But what was really fascinating is that there would be clients who were, they're like, oh, we're not really seeing much of the marketing impact here. We're kind of wondering, like, we're getting leads, but we're not really seeing the new patients in the clinic. Well, you pull up the AI, and it's showing you, like, hey, this number of calls were dropped. Here's some examples. Here's, they could listen to what the front desk was, how they were approaching it or missing things. And they were, the owners were astonished. Like, they didn't realize, like you said, that it's all that hidden loss that's occurring. And so they needed to go back and retrain on some processes at the front desk. But it's like, okay, you can work really hard and spend a lot of money to get people in as a lead coming, from Google ads or Facebook ads coming to your website and then calling in. But if you don't have a strong salesperson really at the front to make sure that they come all the way through, then they're gone.
Yeah, and then they got to be incentivized. Like, salespeople, they want recognition for every little, financial recognition. So, like, if you're doing one of those bonuses where it's like, yeah, if they get 95%, they get a couple $100. I mean, first of all, that's the wrong bonus for the right sales position. The sales position should be a little bit of they eat what they kill with every single schedule. Like, the percentage should just be a back-end verification of the fact that they should be hungry, because every time they get someone to sign up, it's like, boom, a little something in their pocket. Even if it's little, it doesn't matter, but a little something every time is the most effective way to incentivize those right hires. So if we hire a salesperson, they're going to be excited about a compensation model that has a base package and a bonus package. And yeah, man, I've networked with hundreds of companies outside of healthcare. This is just what you do. Yeah. And yet, we keep hiring that $22 an hour front desk person who shows up like they're doing you a favor. And you're like, and you're wondering why everyone's miserable.
I can tell you from people I've talked to that some of them are like $15, $17 an hour, and then they're like wondering why it's hard to keep them, or they're not doing very well at the front desk, or the practice is struggling. It's like, okay, you bring a $15 person into the front desk. Is that the right fit?
Right.
We had a conversation about this when we were at the Combined Sections meeting, and I thought it was fascinating around the virtual assistants, right? And so sometimes there's that fear of like, oh, would I replace my front desk person and put a virtual assistant in there? But we chatted on it, and I think what you were saying was that you want to, as you were just mentioning, your front desk person could be severely overloaded trying to handle calls, scheduling someone that came up to the front desk, they got something that they're typing on, right? And if you can take the smaller tasks off of them, more of those back-end tasks off of them, they can focus on what makes more money for the clinic or keeps the patient's schedule for their appointment. So can you explain that kind of how you've seen things work with a virtual assistant across the front desk?
Absolutely. It's the second fastest growing trend in healthcare next to AI, and we are aggressively implementing AI with our VAs. So I'm really grateful that I feel like I'm on the front edge of every good thing that's coming in our industry. And the most common people who've never worked with VAs before, this was my experience. I call a company, I get clearly outsourced overseas. I can't understand what they're saying, and the customer service and personal connection drops to the floor. And we all built our practices on personal connection. So when you do get fortunate enough to have a rock star at the front desk with the face and the, hey, Susan, how's your dog doing? And everyone loves this front desk person. Mm-hmm. It becomes like, why would I hire a VA? And you just nailed it on the head. So there's different steps. Different companies are doing different things, Neil, when it comes to virtual assistants, and I'll break the main ones down really quickly. The main one is they give their team the gift of a VA. So if you have that rock star front desk person who's American and everyone loves, great. She's a salesperson. That's all it means. Mm-hmm. People who are super high-toned, who everyone loves automatically, they're drawing your business in because they're super, super likable, which is kind of the foundation of a good sales rep. So that person's good. And we could, as a side note, bonus her better when she's able to get more people in because we've given her an assistant who does the insurance verification, who does the authorizations, who does grunt work behind the scenes, who's pulling reports, who's dealing with any communications, and maybe even serving as a personal assistant to you as well as an owner. So that's where most people start, is they give their team the gift of a VA. And what's crazy is, again, in the old world where we would get outsourced overseas for customer service, it was clearly a step down. Mm-hmm. We're seeing the exact opposite, where people, first of all, we hire people who have perfect English, straight up. And they're from the Philippines, but they have perfect English. They've been working in the medical industry for decades. Our big secret, Neil, is that we just pay them behind the scenes a lot more than our competitors. And so we're getting a different quality of individual who's committed for the long term. Yeah. But they show up. They're super they're part of the team. They're on the team meeting call every week. They're on a computer around the clinic table when everyone's doing their lunch and learn. Like, they're there, and everyone loves that person. And so that's just step one. It's by far the most common, but we're seeing in our world, from there, people have done everything from having kind of a team approach with both Americans and Filipinos, all the way to where I've seen complete front desk removal from Americans and completely replaced with Filipinos on screens. And I'm just saying, those clients of mine who do that third option, all of them, and I mean 100% of them, have very high percentage of arrival rates. So the mindset, and by the way, per hire, people are saving $20,000 a year when compared to a $20 an hour employee. Mm-hmm. So you think about the money savings in addition to the higher output of quality, it's like, and you don't have to hire them. That's why we're growing so fast, because it's just the combination. But most people culturally should start with a pilot program, bringing one person in just to pilot it with people to see if it's a fit in their clinic. Mm-hmm. Little, spoiler alert, I've never seen anyone where it's not a fit, except for people who are small private practice owners who've never hired anyone successfully before. The only time it stinks is when you have that first stage of business and the person has no HR experience and they're hiring their first or maybe their second employee, and all they do is welcome to the team, dump. That has never worked, ever. Yeah. So that's the only case, and we don't let people like that hire VAs. People are like, I want a VA. It's like, no, if you're desperate for a VA, you're not ready for a VA. You've got to augment something great behind the scenes for it to work. And if you have any sort of history of hiring decent people, then it's a good fit. But otherwise, no.
Yeah. And so there's the cost, right? And what do people say then Or how do you approach people who are just thinking it from the perspective of, hey, this is should I spend this extra expense here? Or they're looking at ways that I save money.
Yes. Yeah. So most people it's kind of like the sizzle and the steak. The sizzle is what gets you excited about the steak. It's what sells the steak. And the sizzle for the VA is saving $20,000 a year per hire of profit. Mm-hmm. And again, without having to hire them, you just show up on a 1-hour call and we present your candidates live and you pick them. And it's very group interview oriented. But the stake of it isn't the money savings. The stake of it is the quality to your team that elevates everything. The number one, I've surveyed my people. I have hundreds of clients across the country. Almost all of them are PTOT and SLP owners. I've surveyed them repeatedly. What's the number one thing you love about your VA? And it's like the money, all these different options. They all say this, by far, is that they love the way the VA shows up from a place of work ethic because it rises the tide for the Americans. Like when they see someone like busting their butt and being like, what else can I do? Hey, I'm done. What else do you need? And at the end of the day, is there anything I can do for you? Hey, by the way, thank you for today. I was able to feed my family because of that.
Yeah.
That attitude rocks the American attitudes. And it's to me, that's the purpose of this, is that you are raising the culture of your company while you're bringing a family overseas out of poverty. Mm-hmm. And it's so there's the product, which is like a high stat individual who saves you money. Great. But the quality, the purpose, the why, oh man. We had at our event, we always play little thank you videos from the VAs to their owners, to the business owners, in between sessions, in between talks. You want to talk about a room with people who are sobbing? You have, one team has 15 VAs, they're a large company, they had 15 on there, and they all said the one thing that changed their life about working for them. And you see these grown men, literally just tears and snot running down their faces because they're like, it's like, to me, that's why I do this. That's why I'm doing, for me, that's why I'm doing it. I feel like there's a global impact these private practices don't even know they're capable of making. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, it's amazing.
That's awesome. And sometimes that's a consideration or a fear that people have who have never worked with people overseas before, is that they worry about culture, they worry about quality of the person, are they gonna, and if they've only worked with people in the clinic, am I gonna be able to supervise this person remotely? There's all these unknowns, right? And I can say with confidence that, because we have teams overseas too. Since start, we've had teams in India, we have teams in South Africa, Philippines, and a big, 50 plus people here in the U.S. And so our team here absolutely loves our overseas people, because the work ethic is incredibly high. Is
that why you laughed when I said that? You just started laughing.
It's hilarious, right? Because, you get people coming in for interviews and they have a high salary expectation and like, what are you going to do for me? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then you go and interview people from overseas and they have like an incredible experience level coming in. And they've gone to college, they've done all these things. And the attitude is very different in terms of like, how can I be of service? How can I help you, right? How can I elevate the company? How can I serve our customers better? And that's kind of ingrained in some of these cultures, right? So I think that I love what you said there, because I do think it helps the US-based team have a perspective in terms of how good they actually have it in this country compared to other countries, and how it's almost like a breath of fresh air when you have an overseas person with a high work ethic come in. It does elevate everybody within the company to have that similar attitude.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think that's the connection piece that's missing from people who've never experienced it, is that we live in a digital age. The new generation of PTs that have come out have surveyed and said they believe, the vast majority, that a digital relationship is can be as meaningful as an in-person one. Mm-hmm. And so as we bring people in from around the world who haven't had the American opportunities that we have taken for granted, myself included, by the way, when they see that, it shifts the mindset into gratitude. And for me, that's the cultural impact of that type of influence is the best part of what we do for our clients, and it's why they're so grateful. And it's why our number one growth is an existing client who goes from 1 to 3 to 5, because, we get the American who first they start by supplementing good people with good VAs.
Okay.
And then over time, sometimes, people leave, they quit. It's like, no, we'll just stick with the VAs. Like they get over it for the most part. But yeah, I get it. Even then, though, it's not a perfect process, Neil, I feel like I'm overselling it from a place of like perfection, because it's still a people business. And I will tell you authentically, not every placement works. And so one of the things that we've done on that end is we have this no long-term contract thing where people with a 30-day notice can try this idea and then pull out, which we encourage. We don't want people to feel restricted by that. And then if they ever lose somebody for whatever reason, or if they just want to keep trying, we replace them at no cost within a week. So it's this idea of, because I will tell you, it's about 15% of the time we'll place a VA and it doesn't work out because they didn't, for whatever reason. We still, that's a high percentage of acceptance, but we still, about our 15% placement, that's something we're like proud of, but at the same time, that's still, 1 or 2 out of every 10.
It is what it is, right? I mean, like you said, you're dealing with people. No one's perfect. And with anything, you have to find the right fit for your particular business, your area, and what your needs are, and skill set. And I don't care what position that you're in, and whether this is a virtual or an in-person in your clinic employee that you hire, there's a learning curve and there's an experimentation part at the beginning, seeing if this person really works out or not. So you can do all you can to weed them out on the front end and say, this is going to be a great person. And then they come in, and then you're trying to take the mask off when someone is interviewing you to see the real person underneath. And then you think you got it. And then, hey, it happens where 30, 60 days into it, you know what, this wasn't quite what I expected, or it just doesn't fit, I thought that we'd be able to do this with this kind of person, and we just don't have the skill set or the capability. That's fine. The thing is to be able to move on and quickly enough, right? And I think that's where I myself have gotten to trouble in the past, is holding on for too long, giving like too many chances, and then you get into, someone who can be toxic within the company. Oh.
I think that's everyone's biggest mistake, period.
We've all done it, right?
Yeah. Have you ever, Neil, I got a question for you. Have you ever heard of a business owner who says, you know what, I fired them too fast. I regret firing that person. Have you heard any of those? Have you heard either of those comments before?
I've never heard that.
I have in 20 years, maybe 30, I don't even know, it's 20 something years now. I've been aggressively networking with other business owners because I didn't know what I was doing at all. So now I've got obsessed with building my network, and I have never heard once someone say, I fired them too fast, or I regret firing them ever. I've only heard, oh man, why did it take me so long? Or,
the best is when your other employees come up to you and tell you that story. I can't believe you didn't let her go sooner, right? Or let him go sooner.
Why don't they say something earlier? Like, it kills me because they'll come up afterwards and yell,
right?
Yeah, they'll come up afterwards and go, hey, you fired them for this, but did you know these 5 other things? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, I didn't know about those 5 other things. Like, it is so, it makes my skin crawl. Yeah?
All right, so let's chat here on marketing, right? And
please,
the impact a VA can have on marketing. Because one of the challenges that we run into as a marketing agency for PC clinics is that our clients get busy, right? They're super busy. We pump new patients in for them, so that's nice. But now they're super busy, and if the practice owner is trying to run all the marketing too, it's the bottleneck, right? The practice owner becomes the bottleneck. And so how have you seen VAs really help from a marketing perspective?
Yes, so I see lots of different approaches. One of by far, the most common hires are front desk and back office. Insurance verification is where most people start, or it'll be like a support to the front desk. Then later they'll do authorizations, then we do full billing. But the marketing thing is starting to grow quickly, Neil. And what they do is they'll come in initially as there's this role that's quickly developing in my company where it's a personal assistant and a marketer. So this person like cleans your inboxes out, controls your calendar, books your personal travel, orders your groceries if you want. Like they really are freeing their owner's time up, which some of your listeners are going, that's cool. And others like, oh, I don't think I'd want to use them for that because they feel bad for that. It's like, no, man, anything that frees up an owner, it frees up their memory and their time, it will make more money and it gives them a job. And by the way, the people we hired love doing that. Mm-hmm. On the marketing side, it kind of bleeds naturally into that. So you see a lot of social media management. These are people who will, especially with AI these days, they can create full, consistent campaigns. Now, I will tell you from experience, because I do a podcast, the quality of the social media campaigns is fine. And listen, this is me being really authentic about it. Mm-hmm. The people overseas that you hire that do those things, that will post, and they're fine. They're way better than nothing. But like to do it really right, you need the right infusion of a marketing company to assist. I think of the virtual assistant marketers as more just like task mm-hmm. people who can task it. I don't think, my experience again, and I've worked with lots of VAs, coming in and like owning your whole marketing strategy, that's not what they do. They're really good about rubber meets the road, keeping in post, following up on looking as you and like, responding to comments. But like most PT owners don't even have a social media presence. So it's like from there, it's like if they want to get started in recruiting in particular, you got to start posting about your people mm-hmm. on a regular basis. And the VA is really good for that. From a marketing perspective, they also can execute really cool programs like calling back existing patients who've been discharged. So patient reactivations are really great for them. I really think a VA internally might be a really good assistive tool for great companies like yours to kind of just serve as like someone who, once they get trained and empowered, they can serve as the implementer of what you guys do or whatever you need in terms of communication. Because I know you guys do a full series of services, mm-hmm. but they can serve as like that communication piece so that the owner doesn't have their attention as much or at all on it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've seen on the marketing side. Other than that though, I mean, just being transparent, I've never seen a VA step in and be like, I've got your SEO. I can do your website. I can do all your email campaigns. Now, listen, they can work with ChatGPT and create some email campaigns.
Yeah,
and that's okay. But again, it sounds like I'm pooping on it, honestly. But I'm not. I think they're better than nothing. They're way more effective than nothing.
Right.
But with the right support from a company that is because marketing, dude. Let me just say it like this. This is my experience. Here's sales. For people who can't see, I've got my hands about 3 inches apart. That's about like what sales breadth. There's a lot to learn. There's a mile deep, but it's about this wide. Marketing is like so freaking wide. All the components of marketing is by far the most overwhelming part of my business, of any business I've ever worked in, is marketing. So to find a social media person overseas who controls that entire funnel and like understands all those elements is insanity. You have to work with specialists or people who can understand those pieces, but the VA can definitely be an accelerant to that relationship and really help.
It's setting realistic expectations, right? Of not this person's going to come in and be my marketing director and figure out all these campaigns and direct my strategy. Like that's just not real, right? And so I'm sure sometimes you get people that have that sort of expectation. You got to reel them back in. Like, okay, think of someone just on the side helping you out with these things. But I can tell you firsthand that we love working with people who have assistants that have marketing directors. And I think that a lot of times that is the biggest bottleneck in terms of getting the clinic even higher, because the practice owner is trying to do everything, right? And they just don't have enough bandwidth or time to focus on marketing and all the million marketing actions that need to occur from within the clinic and coordinating things and asking for stuff. And, a company like ours is helping with the professional design work, the SEO experts, right? We use a lot of AI within what we're doing, the call tracking, all the different metrics and tracking systems, and obviously the websites and Google Ads professionals, and all these kind of things, right? That is an entire marketing team. But if the owner's too busy, we still need stuff from the practice. Like we need content, right? We need to have like who's organizing getting some pictures from the clinic, right? Or who got some of the latest testimonials from patients within the clinic, right? And and who's organizing some of the things. So that to us is a challenge when a practice owner is too busy to be able to be part of their marketing, right? And that's where an assistant can really help bridge that gap. I'm a big proponent for having VAs help out with marketing for sure.
You just described the perfect relationship that I've seen. In my own company, I hired someone overseas with a degree that has a marketing degree. So I thought she'd be my full director. We put her actually as an assistant or a specialist, which is less than the director. And what I found was she and I both had a knowledge gap between the two of us of what was needed. And then what we did, we brought in a company to help me set up my in-person events. And they have a marketing arm of just the events, not for the whole company, but just that arm. And it was interesting because when that company came in and started using my marketing specialist the way you're describing, I saw her brain from a different angle. I didn't realize how smart she was because she was like, yeah, now they're talking my language. And she was actually like 2 to 3 times more effective because she was working with someone who knew marketing and not someone who doesn't know marketing. Right? Like, so in a way there was that gap of like, she wasn't able to function at the highest levels, but she did so much in terms of free me up, in terms of gathering information and materials, but not just like a task runner. It was like, she knew what they were looking for and was able to get it not just the right information and the right pictures, but do it in the right way to where then the market, because like that company that provides my events were like, we love her. She's amazing. We ask her for something, she gets it right back to us. So it's like that speed thing is huge for sure.
Yeah, that is huge. So I'm curious, because you've chatted with so many different practice owners over the years. I'm curious in terms of, for our audience out there, let's say they're considering a VA. They might know someone that uses a VA and they're kind of dabbling or thinking about it. Like, what are some of the biggest concerns or false ideas that you hear from practice owners about having a VA in your clinic?
The first is what I mentioned before about the connection to the people. They're worried about offending their current team and their patients. So we pilot it. You just pilot it. Hey, I'm piloting this program. We don't frame it as I'm hiring someone to save money. That's going to, like, you say, listen, we're going to do a better job of taking care of our people. So we're going to hire assistants to help offload you guys from the things you don't want to do. And we're going to work. It makes our company's mission and purpose become international. We're bringing someone in overseas, and we're not outsourcing to them. We are bringing them in the family. They're going to be a part of our team and our culture. I want you to know their names. They're just as important as anyone else because they're going to be freeing you up, and this is my investment into you. That's the language. And then from the patient, when they get to patient facing, it's very similar. Honestly, that's the easier of the two. It's getting people to really get their team to buy into it. And you always say, we're just piloting it for 30 days. If we don't like it, we're not doing it. But when you have someone who's so likable, who works so hard, that goes away immediately. The second concern is HIPAA compliance. We are very HIPAA compliant. We work with the same agencies that work with the National Pediatric Association and other large medical associations to make sure that we are meeting all the standards for HIPAA compliance. So that's the second concern. It's usually like a bottom one, but we are all over the HIPAA compliance. The third one is, how do you train them? How do you work with them? We don't do the training at Rockstar, but what we do is we find people who are so like well suited for your role, and we teach you how to work with people overseas. We do train you on that. Like, here's how you're going to like work with someone overseas via video versus in person. And then we have a support team that works with you when you get stuck. If you get stuck, those people within 30 days are totally fine. What I tell people is it's not a hard muscle to develop, but it's a new muscle. So that first little month is like, okay, we're putting a little extra work on it. But once you develop it, it's super easy to strengthen it. And so those are the main 3 concerns. And that's one of the reasons we make it to where you can try before you buy. There's no, like when people do a discovery call with us, we don't charge them or sign up contracts until after they've already met the person they're excited about. If we can't produce someone you're excited about, we don't have you sign a contract, which you can cancel with a 30-day notice, by the way.
Right.
But that's one of I built it for me. Said, what would I need in writing that would protect me as someone trying this idea out? And so we take all that risk on, and clearly it was smart of me to do that, because people are like, yeah, I'll give it a try, and then like a year later they have 15 VAs working for them. So yeah, I think it's great, and so those concerns are valid. They're understandable. That's why you can try it beforehand. But yeah, it's like ultimately, it's the second fastest growing trend for a reason, right? Like it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, yeah, and there's many reasons for it in our businesses, right? In that it's become more global in terms of labor, and we all know where we're at right now for obviously reimbursements, where the different challenges of clinics and the economy is really our profit margins can be slim, right, in practice. And so it's really looking at how can we be more efficient with people, with systems, to deliver a better experience for our patients, right, and increase revenue for the business. So I think that looking at VAs as an option in your clinic makes a lot of sense because the capacity is there for not much cost.
It is. And one concern that I think will impress you that I'm bringing up, by the way, is some people say, why can I just do this myself without an agency? And the answer is yes. Please do. Which is like, now you know I'm really committed, because this is me saying, don't use me. If you think you can go do it, go do it. And here's how you do it. You go to onlinejobs.ph, you post a job ad, just like you would Indeed. You can also use LinkedIn or Indeed. LinkedIn would be my second favorite. And the reason I'm pushing people who are thinking that right now is because they're going to do it anyway. These are the people who sign up with me and then later are like, yeah, I don't want to, I just want to do this on my own. I'm like, great, just go do it on your own. This service is for people. The difference is like saving, do you want to save $20,000 a year or $26,000 a year? Whatever that is. Like for me, it's like, if you're just like, no, I'm all about growing my business and I don't want another headache and I just want to push a button, have an amazing person show up, my service is for you. But if you're like, no, I want to save every nickel and dime and I really enjoy recruiting or whatever those motivations are, go do it on your own. You don't need a service, and please feel free to go do so. Once you get to past 5 VAs though, you got to be careful. There's different like regulations and things you got to meet. So if you start building a large international team, just be careful. But if you're looking for 1 to 5, go for it. Have fun with it, and by all means tackle it. But for everyone else who's like, I don't want to mess with that, push a button, we show up, we take the liability because they're our employees, all those things, right?
Yeah. Love it. And so, Will, what's the best way for people to learn more about Virtual Rockstar and what you do and about getting a VA in their clinic?
Yeah, please. Virtualrockstar.com. At the bottom, you sign up for a non-pressure discovery call. You can ask questions. Again, you can get all the way to the group interview. I encourage you to go all the way to the group interview. Your total time spent would be 30 minutes on the discovery call, an hour on a group interview. And if we can't produce someone that you're like losing your mind excited over, you don't have to move forward at all. We're growing so fast, we welcome it because we like the opportunities to source better and better candidates. And yeah, no hurt feelings. If you're like, no, this isn't for me, don't sign up. Great. It took an hour and a half of your life to really see if it's a fit. And if it is a fit, then you're going to save lots of money and then you have a whole great growth opportunity. So yeah, man, that's how they do it. Virtualrockstar.com.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, and I've heard wonderful things about the company there and the solutions. So definitely check it out, virtualrockstar.com. Will's an amazing guy. And connect with Will, too, on LinkedIn. He's a nice guy to know.
Thank you. And Neil, just for the record, you're one of my absolute favorite people in the industry. What you do with your company is by far one of the most important services. If you had existed when I was starting my practice, my gosh. Anyway, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. And to all listeners out there, thank you for joining us here on the Practice Marketing Podcast. I hope you got a ton of great ideas out of today's podcast. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to us on the podcast, as well as our YouTube channel, where we have all these videos up there too. And don't forget to go to practicepromotions.net. Tons of free advice, downloads for you there on how to improve marketing in your practice. So this is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.